Mitt Romney's vice presidential pick is making news again. Take a look at some live pictures from a rally in Carnegie, Pennsylvania. We are awaiting comments from Congressman Paul Ryan. We will listen in once Mr. Ryan gets started. In the meantime, Fred Barnes, a Fox News contributor, writing in the Wall Street Journal today that Congressman Ryan has recast the race and that his presence is hurting President Obama and helping Governor Romney. Is it? Joining us now for a fair and balanced debate, Kate Obenshain, former chair of the Republican Party of Virginia. Also with us, Simon Rosenberg, president and founder of NDA, a leading progressive think tank and advocacy organization. He is also a former Clinton campaign advisor. I want to get your take on that first, Simon, because a lot of Democrats were rejoicing at the choice of Paul Ryan. They said he was the guy who made it possible for President Obama to win re-election. What do you think right now?
Look, I think he's clearly added a lot of vigor and vitality and energy to this race for the Republicans. He's an attractive candidate. But I think if you look at the polling so far, there really hasn't been a big bounce for Mitt Romney. Paul Ryan, according to some polls, is the most unpopular candidate who's been picked for the vice presidency at this point in a race in modern American history. And in some measures, he's the most extreme ideological candidate that's ever been picked for the vice presidency in the last 100 years. So I think early on, I think it gave an infusion of energy to the Republicans. It's not, however, playing all that well in the rest of the electorate.
All right. Well, Kate, according to some accounts, at least, the fundraising has shot up for the Romney-Ryan ticket. You've got the poll numbers, I guess, ticking up in places like Ohio and Virginia. Has Paul Ryan's presence energized this ticket?
I think Democrats are a lot less jubilant than they were a week ago. We've seen a shift not just in conservative Republicans, although they are energized and they're willing now to get out and work for candidate Romney, who they were not that enthusiastic about, perhaps. But the Democrats thought that this was going to be their opportunity to continue with their divide and conquer. They were going to be able to use their Meta-scare tactics, which have worked always at the national level. But what they didn't bargain for was how skilled a tactician Ryan is, and that he has been fighting against Meta-scare in every single re-election campaign that he has faced in Congress. So he's been able to sort of turn the argument around. He's brought out his mom, Betty. He's been able to show that the Obama campaign is Obama is actually the one who has attacked Medicare. So we've seen a real shift here. I think a momentum shift, surely, but a policy shift in that the Republicans are now being aggressive. They're willing to talk about some really tough issues.
There was also that Democratic super PAC ad that suggested that Mitt Romney was responsible for the death of a woman from cancer. President Obama was asked about it yesterday in his appearance in front of the White House press corps. Take a listen.
I don't think that Governor Romney is somehow responsible for the death of the woman that was portrayed in that ad. But keep in mind, this is an ad that I didn't approve, I did not produce, and as far as I can tell, has barely run. I think it ran once.
So what about that, Simon? I mean, the president is saying, hey, I'm not responsible for that.
I think, getting back to the question about Paul Ryan, I think there are two things to watch about what happens with him over the next few months. This is what we're here to talk about. Is at first, is what's happened in the last few days is his connection with Todd Akin and very far-right social policies, which have been very scary to many Republicans. Okay, so very scary for many Americans. The second thing is it's locked the Republicans in. I want to build off. I want to agree with Kate, right, which is that it's made some of the economic choices more clear. What we now know about Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan is that their obsession with lowering taxes is going to blow a hole in the deficit and deprive the country of needed investment money that creates growth over the long haul. That was a little bit less clear a few weeks ago. So I do think there has been, I agree with Fred Barnes, there's more clarity in the race. I'm not convinced that it's going to play out well for the Republicans over time, but we'll see.
Well, we are here talking about Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney, which is part of the reason I brought up the president's reaction to that ad, which he is disavowing completely, even though it's clearly designed to enhance his re-election prospects. Kate, go ahead.
If anybody's blown a hole in the deficit, by the way, it's $5 trillion that Obama put there. But what Obama's reaction to that ad, John, was exactly why 7 million Americans who voted for Obama last time are looking at Mitt Romney and saying that they're not going to vote for Obama. It was that promise of hope and change, that he was going to be the most unifying president in history. He was going to transcend politics as usual. Then this appalling ad comes out, essentially accusing the Republican candidate of murder. And Obama, the best he can do is say, oh, I think it's only played once and I didn't have anything to do with it. What the people who voted for him expected was that he was going to condemn this sort of nastiness, this baseless mudslinging, and yet he's engaged in it since day one. And that's why these folks are looking for a different candidate, because he's actually been the most divisive he's been the most divisive president in the history of the United States. And so they are looking at somebody like a Paul Ryan who talks about ideas, something that Simon wouldn't do just a second ago, because they don't have ideas that can win. So the electorate is looking for positive, optimistic ideas that will actually turn our positive direction, and that is what the Romney-Ryan ticket is really focusing on right now.
All right, I'll give you 10 seconds to wrap it up, Simon.
I think this is going to be, I think Paul Ryan has made this a clearer choice, and I think that over time, the choices that are in front of the public are not going to play well for the Republicans, and I'm confident in Barack Obama's reelection.
All right. Simon Rosenberg, Kate Obenshain. Good debate as always. Thank you both.
Thank you so much.
And Kate and Simon agreed there at the end. It's a clear choice, they say.
It is a clear choice.
Common ground always found in those debates. Well, speaking of debates, the battle over